Hey guys, so today we're going to be learning about Pemdas, or the order of operations in math. So whenever you do a math problem, you have to do it in this specific order, or else someone else is doing the math problem who does it in a different order could get a totally different answer than you. So this is kind of just a convention to make sure we all get the same answer after we do a math problem. And it's called PEMDAS because all the letters stand for something. It goes parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And this is just the order of how we're going to do it. You might have noticed that I drew some arrows interchanging these two, multiplication, division, and addition and subtraction. And that's because multiplication and division are inverse operations, as are addition and subtraction. So, meaning, if you are doing a problem and you come across maybe something like this, you're not going to go, okay, well it goes PEMDAS, so multiplication and then division. Those two things are interchangeable, so you're just going to go from left to right. So when you have two of these or two of these and you're not sure which to do first because they're just right stacked next to each other, you're just going to go from left to right. So in this case, you'd go left to right. 5 divided by 5 is 1, times 2 is 2. Okay, so we're just going to do some... Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. The logic behind this is that exponents go first, which is just repeated multiplication, and multiplication is just repeated addition, so it just kind of gets all shrunken down as you go. Okay, we're going to do some example problems so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is our first problem. So again, we have to remember the order, which is, it goes PEMDAS. So first we take a look at what's inside the parentheses. So here are two sets of parentheses. What's inside them is first 7 plus 1, so we can combine those and get 8. And remember, whenever you're combining stuff inside the parentheses, keep the parentheses around it after you simplified. Same thing with this one. 8 minus 2 is 6, and you keep the parentheses. Okay, so now we have an 8 in parentheses right butt up next to a 6 in parentheses. And whenever you have parentheses in math, then you have to, and they're right next to each other, or really even if it's just like this, that means multiplication. So what we're going to do is multiply these two things, because they're in parentheses, and we'll get our answer. So 8 times 6 is 48. Alright, this is our next problem. And by the way, these problems are incorporating more and more stuff as we go along. So right now, we have parentheses, addition, and an exponent. So first, obviously, always P. We look at what's inside the parentheses and we do whatever is in there. So right now we have a 6 plus 3. Okay, so we can combine that, and remember, we always keep the parentheses with whatever we do inside of it. And we still have that exponent up here. Okay, so now we have parentheses again, so we just keep those, a number inside and an exponent. Well, these parentheses aren't really doing anything substantial right now, they're just kind of keeping that 9 in there. So we can move on to our next step, which is exponent. So 9 to the second power, which is 9 times 9, is equal to 81, and that is our answer. Okay, so this problem is just like our last one, except for we have another thing multiplying to all of it. Okay, so first we have parentheses, so we're going to look at what's inside here and solve that, combine it. So we have a 12. 10 plus 2 is 12. You keep the parentheses. You're going to, square it, and then multiply by 3. So we have what's in parentheses, exponent, PE, exponent, so it's going to be 144, 12 squared. We keep it in the parentheses, and we have a 3 being multiplied to it. So 3 times 144 is 432. Alright, so for our next problem, we're going to be incorporating division. And again, division and multiplication are like very similar, and just inverse. So this is also pretty much, if this is this whole thing, 4 plus 1 to the third power divided by 5, then it's also 4 plus 1 to the third power times 1/5, if that helps you at all. If not, we're just going to keep doing this one. So, parentheses, it's going to be a 5 in there. Keep it. to the third power over 5. And 5 to the third power is going to be 125. And then we're going to divide that by 5, and we're going to get 25. Alright, so this might look like a monstrosity of a problem, but don't worry, it's going to be simple really soon. So first things first, these two things on the end here are called brackets, and they operate just the same as regular parentheses. They're just like, when you have two sets of parentheses, you wouldn't necessarily want to write it like this, because that can be kind of confusing. So they just turn it into what looks like a different kind of parentheses. A more fancy parentheses, if you will. Okay, so for this problem, same exact concept as all the other problems. Parentheses first, and in this case there's like two sets of parentheses, right? So you always want to do the one that's the innermost parentheses first and then start expanding. And multiplying and adding more stuff in as you go further out. So the innermost parentheses here is 2 plus 5, that's what's in it. So we're going to solve that, keep in the parentheses, and then put what's outside the parentheses, keep the brackets, and keep everything else here. So we just simplified this 2 plus 3 into this 5. Okay, now we have, again, parentheses, but this set of parentheses. So what's in here is 2 times 5, because that's what parentheses mean. And that's going to be 10. Keep the brackets. 5 squared minus 1. Okay, so now these brackets are functioning as a multiplier to this 5 squared, because we already did everything that's inside these parentheses, and now we're just multiplying it by this 5 squared. So if you think of this as 5 squared times 10 now, then we're going to have to do the exponent first and then multiply it. So we're going to have to do this 5 squared, which is 25, brackets 10 minus 1. Okay, now this is 25 times 10, which is 250, minus 1, which is going to get our answer to be 249. Okay, so that was the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to have different videos explaining each of these functions more in depth. So you can watch those if you need additional help with just the multiplying together, dividing, or anything like that. And yeah, thank you so much.